You already know what time it is. Welcome back into the What Offseason Sports Podcast, everybody. Coming up on the show today, the first 4 weeks of the NFL season are done. They have flown past us. We're going to be doing a first quarter NFL review. Check it out. We're going to be looking at some contenders and pretenders. Who's real? Who is not? Who's actually going to be pushing for a Super Bowl this year? And who is just fool's gold through the first 4 weeks of the NFL. Then we're going to take a look at some of the best rookies so far within the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. Then to round it out, some things we need to heat up on, really start paying attention to, and then some things that I just think are getting overhyped. We need to calm down on it. Of course, never forget we're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts at. And if you're not checking out the link tree in the bio of all of our social media pages, you're missing out on every bit of content we're putting out for the show. We're going to start here with the true contenders in the NFL. Who's actually pushing for a Super Bowl? I'm going to start here with the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills are a surefire contender this season. You got to take a look. Josh Allen is real. Josh Allen has emerged this year in the NFL. We're going to be looking at some stats for him later, but he is really making his way, and he's on pace for a historic season, not only for the Bills, but for the NFL as well. And he's playing like he never has before. He is the second best running quarterback behind Lamar Jackson. He's a huge guy. The way he strides down the field, it is hard to bring Josh Allen down. You can even look back at his college tapes. He was a really fierce runner, and people knew that for him as a prospect coming into the league. We all know the Stephon Diggs move is working with Josh Allen. That's his number one receiver, of course, right now. He didn't really have a surefire number one receiver this year, but now with John Brown, you got Cole Beasley, and now Stephon Diggs, who is emerging as a superstar receiver for the Bills. Of course, you give him a great wideout, and he's going to be playing better. And then, of course, I knew when the Bills made the playoffs last year that they were going to come back much better. The defense has taken a step back, but the offense, I think, has taken enough of a step forward to make them a surefire championship contender. And also the Patriots. I don't think they're a surefire contender, but don't be surprised if they do push to the Super Bowl. Of course, Cam Newton is out with COVID-19. I really hope he gets better soon and comes back, because the NFL, I feel like, is just drowning right now with everything in COVID. And I think Cam Newton looked pretty good throughout 3 games. And the defense is still pretty good as well. We know that they had some opt-outs and 8 total opt-outs on that team. For them to still be 2-2, Bill Belichick taking on a brand new quarterback, a quarterback being in a brand new system, I got to give it to the Patriots. And this is a moment when I think coaching is going to surpass talent, far surpass talent on this squad right here. Of course, the Chiefs and the Ravens are a no-brainer. I'm not even going to dig into that. But another team that I think is a true contender for a title this year is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think this is going to be another instance where coaching will surpass the talent as well. You got to look at Big Ben coming back off the injury, so that could be something to keep them from a surefire contender. But I think if Big Ben is 100% healthy and not coming off of an injury, then you can say the Steelers are a surefire contender. Yes, I know, no Antonio Brown. Yes, I know, no Le'Veon Bell. Some people are still caught up on this and that. But Juju's not a bad receiver. James Conner isn't a bad receiver. You've also got Deontay Johnson, who is doing pretty decent as a wide receiver too right now in Pittsburgh. And Big Ben is on the back end, of course. Like I said, Juju is good, not great. But the defense is top 5 in the league without question. You got TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick arguing to be maybe the best at their position right now through the first 4 weeks in the NFL. Minkah Fitzpatrick, of course, has always been a top safety in this league. And I want to say TJ Watt actually leads the league in pressures right now. Pressure rate, something of that sort. But I know TJ Watt is having a great season here so far with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is another team I've been high on all year. If you've kept up with the show, you're not going to be surprised when I say this. I think the Indianapolis Colts are a title contender. And I'm going to even go as far as to say I think they're a surefire title contender with all the talent that they have. I know T.Y. and MPJ are a little beat up, but Phillip Rivers isn't playing terrible this year. He's standing behind the best O-line in football. And then Jonathan Taylor, the best running back in the draft. I mean, they've got so much talent. Look at how good the defense is now. That defense is that good now. Seriously, the Colts are just going to come out of nowhere and bring out a defense like that. The Colts, I think, have surprised everybody this year. They surprised me with the defense. I figured the offense would have been doing a little more, but I think the Colts are still title contenders, and they have some good young talent. I think they have some great young talent, honestly, and forget about the first game with the Jags. That's like trying to judge the Bucs off of the first game with the Saints. The Bucs have won 3 straight. You know, you can't judge the Colts off of the Jaguars game. It was the first game of the season. It was a new game for everybody. No preseason, no OTAs. But this roster has talent on both sides of the football, and I've been saying it all season. They are sneaky AFC title game contenders without a question. It just depends on Phillip Rivers. What kind of season is he going to have? But like I said, he's standing behind the best offensive line in football right now. Moving on to the Seattle Seahawks, I think there's no question about this one. Everybody knows the Seahawks are real this year. They are a surefire championship contender. Russell Wilson's playing his mind out right now, and if he doesn't win the MVP, I'm going to be pissed off about it, honestly. If he does not win the MVP, which he could scale it back. Obviously, an injury could happen, but with the way Russell Wilson is playing right now, here's a stat for you. Russell Wilson has 16 touchdown passes through the first 4 weeks in the NFL season. That ties Peyton Manning's record. And this offense has not seen a hiccup yet. Of course, the defense is garbage, literally dead last in the league, just about in yards given up and points given up. So if the Seattle defense doesn't clean it up, I think they'll get caught eventually. But with the way they're rolling right now through the first 4 weeks in the NFL season, I definitely think the Seattle Seahawks could push for a Super Bowl. And only Green Bay scores more points there than Seattle. We know the tear that Green Bay is on this year, so there's more perspective for you there. And like I said, they have the same defensive problem as Dallas, stats and all, but the difference is the coaching. Pete Carroll and Mike McCarthy. Pete Carroll knows the type of quarterback he has, and he's going to let Russ cook. Dak can cook as well, but when you also have a running back like Zeke Elliott, who is top 3 in this league, you have to be giving him 18 to 25 carries a game, even if you're winning well. You have to give Zeke 18 to 25 carries a game. I almost whiffed on these guys here, but with the way they're playing, like I said, through the first 4 weeks of the season, I think the Los Angeles Rams are a title contender this year. Not a surefire title contender, but they're sitting at 3-1. They're looking well. They've missed their Super Bowl hangover, and they really look to have rebounded from that. And they're 6th in yards per game this year, and they're 6th in points given up. So the offense and the defense are nicely balancing out. They got a good receiving core as well. Sean McVay is an amazing coach. The NFC West is loaded, and they will have to prove themselves against Seattle if the Cardinals end up turning the corner. And then also, we cannot forget about the 49ers. They're just banged up right now, but they were a Super Bowl team last year. Of course, we know the Green Bay Packers. They are surefire title contenders this year. This is the best team in the NFC through 4 weeks. This is the second best team in the NFL through 4 weeks behind the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, they are better than Seattle. Seattle's defense is trash because I know people are going to challenge me. Well, Green Bay is really better than Seattle. Yes, go watch the tape. And they're beating teams without Devontae Adams, without Allen Lazard. Aaron Rodgers has found his old fearless gunslinging self. So here come the Packers, back to them old selves. Be ready for Green Bay to wreak hell and be a problem for any team standing in the NFC this year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, without a question, are a surefire title contender this year. One of the most loaded rosters in the NFL on offense and defense. Tom Brady is playing good football right now. All this talk about he's 43, losing his arm, doesn't know what he's doing. Look, I understand the 4 pick sixes in the last 6 games, whatever the hell the number is, but Tom Brady's still out here winning. Tom Brady is behind another very strong defense this year, and that's going to help the Bucs, of course. Everybody's been saying it. That's going to help the Bucs possibly get back to the Super Bowl. Oh, Tom Brady again, standing behind another defense. Well, so what? He chose the right place to go, so give the guy some credit in that form. His arm's not weak. He's coming off a 5-touchdown week, and he's not flinching in the pocket. And yet again, Tom Brady has a super solid defense behind him. One of the best receiving cores in football, and they're banged up right now, and he's still winning football games. Everybody knew coming in they could win the championship, and I think they have as good a chance as anybody to win the Super Bowl this year. Now let's get into these pretenders. The teams that people think can go and compete for a title and win a Super Bowl, but they're fool's gold. They have no business even being in the Super Bowl conversation. Maybe the playoff conversation, yeah, but they are not going to push for a Super Bowl at the end of this year. The Las Vegas Raiders. People erupted when they beat the Saints. Absolutely went crazy. A team who played their worst game of the season. Calm down on the Las Vegas Raiders. It was their first game in the new stadium as well. And this team has a losing culture. Check this fact. Joe Morley, I love you, brother. Las Vegas Raiders fans, I'm so sorry about this, but since 2000, you only have 6 winning seasons. That's including 2 8-8 years. So I don't think they're elite enough on either side of the ball to make a push for a title this year. The Cleveland Browns, I was tempted to put these guys as title contenders because they're looking well. Could Kevin Stefanski be the answer? They might have the best rushing attack in the league. They have the best backfield in the league with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And the offense is loaded. And the decent defense, yes, from a good front 4 to front 7. And they're sitting at 3-1 right now. Cleveland, I feel like, has finally found themselves. Do they have a mature coach in Kevin Stefanski? It looks like it's a possibility because this is a run-first football team. They're leading the league in rush yards per game with over 200. That's 25 more than any other team. Yes, that's more than the Ravens. Yards per game, 25 more yards per game in the rushing category than any other team. So if you take the pressure off of Baker Mayfield, and honestly, they're a good team if you don't involve Baker very much. Kevin Stefanski, like I said, seems like he could be the solution to the coaching, but I feel like the Browns have done so much losing lately. I don't know if they can turn it around to make a deep playoff run for a Super Bowl. We know the bunches of egos that are on the Cleveland Browns, and will the winning ways hold up? Does the league catch on to them? I think they will make the playoffs, but I just don't see the Browns truly pushing for a Super Bowl this year. Maybe within the next 2 to 3 years, realistically, but not this NFL season. The Tennessee Titans, I think these guys are pretenders, undefeated at 3-0, yes, but a close game to the Broncos, a close game to the Jaguars, and a close game to the Vikings. We all know how those 3 teams are doing right now. 3 not very good teams, honestly, and they won these games by a combined total of 6 points. Yes, they made it to the AFC Championship last year, but does this offense really keep it up? I don't think they're elite by any stretch. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill tremendously, and I think the Titans are pretenders. The Houston Texans are nothing but defeated right now. DeAndre Hopkins' absence is shining through so brightly right now for the Houston Texans. We know they miss D-Hop. They know that they miss DeAndre Hopkins. Bill O'Brien is gone, which is good because he was part of the problem in the Texans organization. And I have a sneaky feeling that this locker room is really going through it right now with everything. And it's a tough schedule to start the season, playing the Chiefs, playing the Ravens, playing the Steelers. But to not at least be 2-2, I mean, I don't know. The Texans have plenty of growing to do, and I just think they're pretenders at the end of the day. Another team that I hated to put right here because they are so talented right now, but they've kind of hit a skid at the moment. It is the Arizona Cardinals. They started the season off great, but they're way too inconsistent. Kyler Murray's still a kid at the end of the day. They are talented offensively. Everybody knows that with DeAndre Hopkins coming over in the offseason, and they have playmakers on the roster as well, but they still have some work to do on both sides of the football. You can really watch out for the Cardinals to be a force for the years to come and for Kyler Murray to win an MVP sooner rather than later. I just don't think they've got the consistency's not there for the crew, and the defense has a lot of work to do as well. Isaiah Simmons has not been doing so hot so far this season. And the last pretender before we get on to the next segment is the Chicago Bears. Trubisky's benched. Good. Nick Foles is in. He's a serviceable veteran, but they have no business being 3-1. DeAndre Swift dropped a pass in that Lions game. The Falcons cannot mentally play 4 quarters. They beat the crappy Giants. This offense is not potent enough to threaten teams deep in the postseason, but the defense has been the story in the past few years, and if they somehow do emerge to be a title contender, which I don't think they will, it will be because of the defense. Let's get into some rookie talk. The NFL is loaded with talent. So many great rookies coming over in this season, and there's a few that have really stood out to me, and I just want to dig into them, see how they've been doing, get an outlook on them for the season. Let's dive into some rookie talk. Joe Burrow, the number 1 overall pick. You'll see the graphic right here on the screen. Completion percentage towards 70, over 1,000 yards already, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks, and an 88.7 rating. So Joe Burrow's not doing terrible so far. I think he is proving why he was the number 1 overall pick, and I really did underestimate this kid coming out of college into the NFL. It's not that he wasn't good in college. Everybody knows how great Joe Burrow was. I just didn't know if he truly had what it took and could actually translate his game to the NFL. NFL, but he's proven me absolutely wrong. He's accurate. He stands tall in the pocket. He's confident. He is poised. And even greater right here, Pro Football Focus has him graded as the 5th overall rookie with a 76.1. So yeah, mid 70s, but he's a rookie quarterback playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think give the kid some credit. I think a 76 right here could really be treated like an 85 for a rookie. So I have to give that credit to Joe Burrow. You got to consider the god-awful offensive line he's standing behind right now, the minimal talent. People are banged up around him. And I think if he keeps performing at this level, being a quarterback and the number 1 overall pick, he will win Rookie of the Year. And you could even argue that they could be 2-2 right. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back out of LSU, Joe Burrow's teammate, hits tailback when he won the national championship. You'll see the graphic here on the screen as well. 304 yards, a touchdown, a 4.3 average on the carries so far. He is more of a dual threat running back. He immediately started in place of Damian Williams opting out, of course, so he had to take that mentality and that confidence and step up for the Super Bowl defending champions. Now, he is a shorter, stockier guy, of course, standing at 5'7" and over 200 pounds, so that does make him extremely agile, and using him in the zone schemes so far this year in the NFL have really helped open up his game, and that works well for him with the Chiefs. Now, his only drawback is he doesn't have a really defined trait. He's not going to blow past you. He's really not going to power through you. His routes out of the backfield are pretty simple as well. And I think he could improve in the passing game also, but I'm not downing on him though, because I think he had a hell of a career at LSU. And if you guys remember earlier this year in the show, I did predict Clyde Edwards-Helaire to win Offensive Rookie of the Year over Joe Burrow, but I think as of right now, Joe Burrow is going to be the man to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then another very exciting prospect that came over this year, Jonathan Taylor, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3.8 average on the carries, and we know he had to step up in lieu of Marlon Mack being absent, with the injury. And contrary to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor is quick, and he can run you over. He can bust you around the edge. He can bust in between the tackles, and he actually posted the fastest 40 time as well at the combine for all running backs, running a 4.41. Now, the only downfall to Jonathan Taylor is if you do the math, he fumbled once every 50 carries at Wisconsin, which is pretty concerning. His pass blocking really could be stronger, and he needs to become more of a factor, I feel like, in the passing game as well to establish himself as a true, no doubt RB1. But I think Jonathan Taylor's doing great, and don't be surprised if he could have a breakout, possibly 12 or 1,300 yard season as a rookie and go and win Rookie of the Year himself. Now, the gentleman I did predict to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, Chase Young for the Washington football team. He's got 2.5 sacks and 1 forced fumble in his 3 games this year, specifically 1.5 sacks and a forced fumble in the first game of the year when the football team played the Eagles and they blew up Carson Wentz for 8 sacks to open the season. A lot of people argued that Chase Young was the most dominant player in the NFL, or in the NFL draft rather, and I honestly agree with that. His strength and speed at this early of an age really make him primed to be a top pass rusher in this league for years to come. I mean, he's quick. He's really quick. The way he can get around the edge, all of his moves work really well for him. And Chase Young is a mean guy. And I think he's really going to be able to make his way in the NFL, push to be a top 3 pass rusher up there with Watts and the Bosas. I really think Chase Young has that potential in his blood. And the last defensive rookie that we're going to take a look at is Antoine Winfield Jr. for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the safety out of Minnesota. He's already got 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a pass defended on the year. And with Todd Bowles being his coordinator, I think that makes him already already a great blitzer for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he's very quick off the snap, and he's a key player in their run stuffing game as well. His closing speed for the open field on the short routes and the screens really serves him well. And I think Antoine Winfield is already playing great for a rookie at this young of an age. And with Tampa already being one of the better defenses, drafting a safety of his caliber and already having him step up to those expectations, it's just going to make your defense that much better, and it's just going to secure the kid a job for years to come down the road. The first 4 weeks of the NFL season, it's fool's gold football. as I'm sitting here talking about pretenders and contenders, I could be dead ass wrong about all that. But I wanted to dig into the first quarter of the NFL season because it made for a great episode. But the first 4 weeks of football, you can really even argue the first 6 to 7 weeks of football are really fool's gold, because then after that, all the chemistry has been tested. You've been through just about half of the season. You know who you are, you know who you aren't. And I brought up some things here that I think we need to heat up on, really start paying attention to, and then some things that I feel like we just need to cool down on, things that really aren't that serious yet. Give it some time. Could it happen? Yes, but it's the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. So let's get into it. Are we going to heat it up or are we going to cool it down? Number 1, benching Drew Brees. Cool this down, please. You guys really want one of the worst decision makers in the NFL, Mr. 30-30 himself, behind a wildly dynamic offense in the New Orleans Saints? Drew Brees plays a tough couple of games and y'all want to call for his job. Air yards, not a playmaker, noodle arm, all this, all that. Whatever. I'd be dumb to sit here and say that his arm is the greatest, because we know it's not. It's not even half of what it used to be. But he still makes the tight throws. He's still one of the best decision makers in the NFL and one of the best leaders in the NFL still. Who cares about air yards and deep shots? New Orleans finishes almost as a top 5 offense every year here recently. So I think the Saints are doing well enough to keep the offense up to what it is. They're dealing with injuries right now. It's the first 4 weeks, and you're going to call for Drew Brees' job? Is anybody calling for Tom Brady's job? No, I don't think so. Is Brady playing better than Brees? Yes, but not by much. Brees hasn't thrown any pick sixes this year, so there's a fact there for you. But to call for Drew Brees' job, just cool down on that. Cool down on that, guys. It is not time for that yet. It is Tua time, though. We need to heat up on Tua time in Miami. Tua was one of my 2 favorite quarterbacks drafted, the other being Jalen Hurts. Through 4 games, you're 1-3 with 1 dominant performance over the awful Jaguars and 3 close losses to decent teams thus far. And on Monday, in a virtual press conference, Brian Flores wouldn't commit to saying that Fitzpatrick was their starter for this week's game against San Francisco, as they need to evaluate the state of the franchise. They also said that Tua has checked all the boxes from a medical standpoint, and you can really tell that he values Tua. A quote here from Brian Flores: "The honest thing for me is that if it was my kid and he had a serious injury like that, I wouldn't want a coach to be in a rush to put him in." And then Ryan Fitzpatrick turns around on the Peter King podcast and says, "I know my job security really for me is a week-to-week proposition, and I've got to go out there and prove it every single week. I know the talent he has, and I'm excited whenever he gets his opportunity. I feel like I'm going to play a big part of that." That's Ryan Fitzpatrick speaking on Tua. I think you can go ahead and put Tua in. The next few weeks coming up aren't that awful. San Francisco's banged up and they just lost to the Eagles. Could they be coming to play hard? Yeah, absolutely. But go ahead and get Tua out there. If you're evaluating the state of the franchise, I think you drafted Tua to be a franchise quarterback. I think you should put Tua in. Just go ahead and let Tua start, get some reps under his belt. And because I think Tua can be a great quarterback in the NFL, but obviously you got to start somewhere with him. And I think the time is now. It is Tua time in Miami. Something else we need to cool down on: Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the NFL. We need to cool down on that for the time being. Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are the best quarterbacks in the NFL through 4 weeks. Rodgers and Wilson have not skipped a beat, but Mahomes hasn't looked himself in those Chargers and Patriots games. And just a few stats for you here. I'll be throwing these up on the screen for you. You look at the completion percentage. Mahomes is the lowest of the 3, with Russell Wilson leading it at an insane 75%. You see he's last in touchdown passes. Of course, Russell Wilson leads that in picks. One of those doinks off of obviously Greg Olson's helmet, so you really can't get on them for that. And I know Patrick Mahomes doesn't have any picks as well. You take a look at the passer rating: Russell Wilson having a 136.7 passer rating, Aaron Rodgers being second, and then Mahomes coming in last as well. I'm not trying to take anything away from Patrick Mahomes here, but in order to say you're the best, the greatest quarterback in the league, I'll give it to him. He's the biggest playmaker in the league. There's no question about that. He doesn't throw a better deep ball than Russell Wilson. He's not more accurate than Russell Wilson. He's not more accurate than Aaron Rodgers. He's not smarter than Aaron Rodgers yet. And like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Mahomes. I just wanted to address this fact that Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback in the NFL through the first quarter of the season. And I know I'm being really, really picky about that. Don't get me wrong. Mahomes is still a beast. He's still top 3. I'm not taking anything away from him, but this is where veterans separate themselves. Mahomes isn't a veteran yet. This is his 3rd year starting behind the center. So he's not a veteran yet. I'd say give him 1 more year, and yes, he's a veteran, but he's not a veteran of Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers just yet. And like I mentioned, Wilson and Rodgers are more accurate. They're better decision makers. Wilson throws the best deep ball in football and will challenge anyone. You see how he burnt Stephon Gilmore on that deep ball to DK Metcalf against the Patriots. So there's proof there. Aaron Rodgers can still throw bombs. He is deadly accurate as well. And Aaron Rodgers just has the mental capacity to be able to audible out of tough looks at the line. And I just don't think Patrick Mahomes has that yet in his repertoire. And something we really, really need to heat up on. Josh Allen is real this year. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the contenders for this episode, through 4 games, you'll see the stats there on the screen. 71% completion, over 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, a pick, and a passer rating of 122.7. And I'm sure Josh Allen will come back to earth and catch himself, or rather the league will catch on to him. But just to compare to last season, he was a 20 touchdown, 9 interception quarterback last year. He's already got 12 passing touchdowns and only 1 pick this year. 15 total touchdowns on the season. His arm strength and his size has honestly always been a notable trait of his. And his accuracy is now coming around the first quarter of the season. I think this guy's a dark horse MVP candidate, honestly. He's the 2nd best running back in the league, the 2nd best running quarterback in the league behind Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is the fastest, but Josh Allen is the strongest running quarterback in the league. He's tough to bring down when he gets going. Since he got drafted, he leads all quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns. That's more than Lamar, Watson, Cam, and Russell. So go figure for his running capability. If you don't want to say he's a better runner, he definitely scores a lot more, or not a lot more. Obviously, the numbers show he scores more than any other mobile quarterback in the league, any other quarterback in general in the league right now on the ground. And like I mentioned earlier, Buffalo knew exactly what they were doing, acquiring a great receiver in Stephon Diggs. And this team could win a Super Bowl. This team, I think, definitely could win a Super Bowl. I think they're a surefire title contender. The defense is there. It's scaled back from last year, but the offense has stepped up. Josh Allen is real. Here come the Bills, man. That's going to wrap up today's episode of the What Offseason Sports Podcast, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in for this first quarter NFL review and some other great topics where we were able to dive into today. As always, catch us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts at. And if you're not checking out the link tree in the bio of the social media, you're literally missing out on everything What Offseason puts out for you. Of course, never forget to catch us next week on another loaded episode of What Offseason. Make sure you follow us on all social medias. Hit me up, like, comment, subscribe, DM, anything you do on the page. I'm right there to engage back with you guys. This is What Offseason signing out, everybody.